Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring my review of Justice League. This just came out on Friday, November 17th, and I just seen it today along with my family and my girlfriend. And this is a very, very anticipated movie, to say the least. Not just since the DC universe started in live action, but just since forever. We've always wanted a Justice League film. We got the Avengers years ago, and we were all waiting for DC's Justice League to finally have a film adaptation. And this has been like a dream ever since I was a kid. Watching the Justice League cartoon when it premiered in 2001. Being a fan of Batman since I was a baby. So this is an important movie for me. Of course, you can see what I was anticipating going in with my shirt right here. Finally bought a Superman shirt, just for this movie. And just to briefly, skim over the rest of the films in this franchise so far, I loved Man of Steel. I think it's one of the all-time best. Rewatching Batman v Superman again, I also really, really like that one. Wonder Woman was great. Suicide Squad I like. It's probably the weakest of them, but I still think Suicide Squad is pretty decent. So there are definitely issues I was starting to have, with the DC films, though. Or at least the issues we've heard about behind the scenes that, plague this movie, with, Zack Snyder having to step down prematurely as director due to a very unfortunate event within his family. Joss Whedon taking over. But I'll talk more about that in a few minutes, I suppose. But what did I overall think of the movie? What did I overall think of Justice League? I liked it. I thought it was good, a very good time. I enjoyed it. There was some humor in it that worked. Luckily, they didn't have too much humor to the point where it ruined it. There's lines here and there that you think, okay, they probably wouldn't have been that comedic in that situation, but it wasn't the overabundance I was worried about, which was good. And the story is pretty simple. It's Steppenwolf, coming to Earth and trying to take over. He's trying to collect these 3 mother boxes, which have more context in Zack Snyder's original version, as far as we know, which again we'll talk about in a minute or two here. And it's Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck, trying to unite these people with special abilities to stand against him. With Superman gone, he's restored by his restored faith in humanity with Superman's sacrifice at the end of Batman v Superman. So he's trying to believe more in people again and do what he can to honor Superman in death. And we're not sure what kind of state Superman's in. They have a conversation about it, and Bruce basically says he's not sure what state Superman's in at this point. It could be like some kind of comatose state. And with the ground levitating, at the end of BVS and everything, we all knew Superman was coming back. I was just really excited to see how, and just ready for the moment to be, epic as hell. But we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. I should just get the Zack Snyder, Joss Whedon thing out of the way. Because, we all know, like I said, Zack had to step down, unfortunately. And I think Zack Snyder is a great director. I loved Watchmen. I loved Man of Steel. I really, really like Batman v Superman at this point. Maybe even love that to an extent as well. I know Joss, he had success with the Avengers and everything, but it's just really unfortunate nowadays that we think that the formula or the style of all these comic book films has to be like Guardians of the Galaxy, or Spider-Man: Homecoming or something, or the way Thor Ragnarok was. Which I like Thor Ragnarok, but it felt like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 Thor. And humor's fine. I'm not saying movies should be sucked dry of that, but here, like I said, there was an overabundance of it to a point of it ruining it, but it was evident that this wasn't Zack Snyder's original work here. I forget, it was like about, Justice League was about 2 hours, the theatrical cut we got here, or just under 2 hours, I forget which. But basically, we've heard that there have been like maybe about 50 minutes cut out of the movie, and a good couple handfuls of deleted scenes at least, that were filmed or planned on and everything like that. And that's really, really unfortunate. And there's supposedly been like a leak to a report about all the deleted scenes from Zack Snyder's original Justice League that were cut. And I gotta say, I like this movie. I thought it was good, but reading through all the scenes that were cut, if they included all of those, it would have bumped this movie up from a good to great. Maybe I would have even loved it at that point if they included everything they had taken out. And Justice League is naturally, perhaps a lighter story than Batman v Superman was. But I still think it probably would have been more self-serious had Snyder stayed the whole time and had the studio not meddled in it as much as they do nowadays. Because they also use Whedon to give it a more consistent, light tone, of course, which is just annoying as hell. Guardians can be like that, but not every comic book film has to be like that. I love the tone from BVS. I'm not saying everything has to be grim like that, but, when they're trying to get, there's going to be spoilers in this, video, by the way, but when they're trying to get Superman to, remember everything, and then he tosses Batman, and Batman's like, yep, something's definitely bleeding. Just one-liners like that, Batman probably wouldn't make. He'd be desperate and, trying to do anything he could to, bring Clark out of it. I don't know. That's not that specific moment's not my main issue in the movie, but there's a ton of scenes I read about, like, I was waiting to see some kind of dark side throughout the movie, or even one of the after credit scenes, but that never happens. But apparently there's a couple really good moments with him in Snyder's cut. With Superman having visions of Darkseid when Steppenwolf tries to tempt him towards the end of the movie. And apparently originally Steppenwolf was even going to be shown being killed by Darkseid at the end, after he's taken back to Apocalypse or whatever. Or Apocalypse. And then there's even like a Green Lantern tease originally at the end of Snyder's version as well. There's a even better conversation between Bruce and Diana over Bruce, feeling like how much he needs to atone and redeem himself because of because of his actions in Batman v Superman, which is kind of skimmed over briefly. And again, Ben Affleck does a great job as Batman and Bruce Wayne. He feels a little bit lighter than in BVS, but I think again that's kind of a natural story progression of him trying to be more hopeful and energetic, and trying to be the hero he should have been before. When he originally dealt with Superman, the hero he used to be years ago, most likely. But Ben Affleck still gives a good performance here, and I really hope he stays on. We've been hearing a lot of back and forth rumors about what's going on with that. I'm trying not to drive myself crazy until we all hear something for sure. But for now, I think he really is the best live-action Batman. Gal Gadot, of course, she's great as Wonder Woman. I like her a lot. Henry Cavill, again, I don't think they could have had anyone better to play Superman. Ezra Miller's Flash, I thought was fine. He reminds me of like a lot of comedic, comic relief type characters in comic book films nowadays. But I still thought he was fine. He wasn't annoying, so I like that. And then Jason Momoa's Aquaman. I thought he was good. I sort of wish he would have swapped personalities with Cyborg or something, maybe. I don't know. Again, I think it's probably more so it being made out to be a later film, so that's why Aquaman's sort of like this, joke machine kind of thing. I don't know. But I like the look of him with Momoa in the role, and the scene with Mara did, intrigue me enough for Aquaman's movie next year. That's still coming out as far as I know. And Fisher, his Cyborg, I thought was fine. I do think he was a little bit dull, honestly. But again, maybe the cut scene we got of more of his life would have helped if we had seen it. But I think he did a decent job. For some reason, either the actor or the character came off a little bit dull for me compared to the others. But he definitely wasn't bad. But like I said, it's a shame that Snyder got his version cut down so much, and the studio meddled so much with it, because, like I said, I like this movie. I thought it was good. I'm gonna really try to see it again, because I think I'll like it even more seeing it again. But if I ever get to see all the deleted scenes in the movie that Snyder had taken out, I think it'll bump up from good to great. So it's unfortunate we didn't see that original version. But why don't we talk more about what we actually did see? One of my favorite little parts of the movie was actually an exchange between Bruce and Wonder Woman. Bruce saying that Superman's more human than he is, and I think that's really true with just how jaded Bruce has become over the years because of everything he's been through and everything he's seen, and that he definitely knows after what he did in BVS and the way Clark was willing to selflessly act, and no matter what, that he definitely sees more humanity in Clark at this point than in himself, which I think makes a lot of sense for the characters. So I really like that, and I was complaining about the light tone and the comedy, but there are some comedy bits that actually do work and feel natural. And when Superman is first, brought back, he doesn't know who he is or who to trust and everything. So they're all trying to calm him down, but they have to sort of fight him or hold him off in the meantime. And Superman ends up holding Batman, Cyborg. I think it's Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Aquaman. And then the Flash is trying to race from behind Superman, but then you can see Superman's eyes slowly following Flash around, and just actually being able to move through the Speed Force with Superman, I thought was really cool. It's just really good to know, and I think fitting that Superman's the only one that we've seen powerful enough to still be able to move himself through the Speed Force and actually try and fend the Flash off as he did. So I thought that was really cool, and just Ezra Miller's expression, when he's seeing that Superman was actually watching him, going around him, I thought was hilarious actually. And Ezra Miller's Flash was actually pretty good. Like I said, the comedic relief, thing with him is kind of typical in these movies. I feel like we've seen this kind of character before. But Ezra Miller, he didn't do a bad job with it. And his, how he says he's only pushed people. He's not a warrior. He doesn't know how to fight. Batman says, just save one person, and then after that you'll know what to do. And then the Flash starts saving more people. So I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, giving a little more credit to Ezra Miller here, I suppose. And then I should talk more about the villain Steppenwolf. I think he could have been better realized, and I think it would have helped. Again, I feel like a broken record, but if Snyder had gotten his more, slightly more self-serious version, I feel like Steppenwolf would have had more punch as a villain. Because there was something lacking with this movie overall, and again, I think it would have been fixed if Snyder got to do everything he wanted to do and the way he wanted to do it. I'm going to stop saying that, though. I'm going to try to anyway. But what lacked in this movie, in the end, was a sense of, real danger and, urgency and threat. For some reason, I just didn't feel it, I think if we seen those visions of Darkseid and Darkseid killing Steppenwolf in the end, that would have helped. But I wish we felt more intimidation from Steppenwolf, and we should have. I felt more worried in episodes of Justice League, and that's a cartoon, but it shows you how well done anything can be. It doesn't matter if it's animated or not. But I never was really worried about anyone particularly, because they're not going to kill Batman right now, so and different things like that. But still, I really wished I really felt more of the threat of Steppenwolf like everyone else did in the movie. And I think the design for Steppenwolf could have definitely been better, or at least had more color. Not light color, but in the comics you can see he has this black, sleek armor with the red mixed in and everything. But in this he's kind of a flat, grayish, dull sort of blue kind of thing. I don't know, it's hard to describe. But if you ever see the toys of Steppenwolf that are out right now, it's not, it's a little bit better than that on film, I guess. But I feel like there's missing pieces of his design, or missing elements of his overall appearance, I guess. But I don't think he's the worst villain in the comic book film. I think Marvel's definitely had weaker villains. But there's nothing going lacking here as far as threat overall in this movie. I like seeing J.K. Simmons Commissioner Gordon. The flashback where we actually see one of the lanterns was pretty cool, but apparently again even in Snyder's cut that scene is supposed to be longer. I keep talking about Snyder, don't I? Another comedic moment that worked, by the way, I think, was when Aquaman actually was touching Wonder Woman's lasso of truth, and he's saying how they're all going to die and how grim he thinks it all is. But then it starts kicking in, and he starts talking about all his insecurities and how scared he actually is, with his own life, and he's how unsure he is. It was kind of funny. And then Superman and Cyborg sort of laughing together. I thought was fun. And that's, a lot of people have complained about the way Superman's been presented in these movies. But me personally, I think Superman has had actually a pretty realistic character progression from Man of Steel to BVS to now. There's a lot of people who've always wanted to really like Superman, him smiling right away in Man of Steel and everything. But I think it's been a more realistic take on it. He had to discover what humanity really is. He had to, really see people for what they are for himself. He had to have his own doubts. He had to really question who he is and who he's supposed to be. And so when we see him in Justice League, he is that more optimistic, figure and beacon of light that people had wanted. I just wish people would accept that as actually a, progression and not something you should have just been right away. It makes him feel more like a real character. So when you see him laughing with Cyborg and everything, it feels organic. I thought Batman looked great too. I was questioning the slightly different cowl before the movie, but I think it looks really cool actually. There's just a ton of moments I could talk about. I was also worried about the goggles, that Batman has in the preview. So they looked, I know they've been in certain comics before, but they do look a little bit weird. But luckily he only has them on for, a handful of minutes worth of the movie. And Batman does have some cool moments himself. He's catching the parademon towards the beginning of the film. I thought was a nice, action kind of sequence. And then when he ejects himself, from the Batwing and everything, there's just some really nice shots of him when he's swooping down and just nailing some of the parademons and taking him head on. Just the way his cape looks, spread out, really reminds me of the Arkham games and some of the cartoons and everything. It's fantastic. The armor itself, the body looks really cool. Like I said, I think Cyborg was a little bit dull, but again, I think there's missing stuff that we didn't see. So part of some of his background did feel a bit out of place. I felt like there's more we should have seen if they're going to go into it with him. I definitely want to talk about something else here in a second. I just want to make sure I'm getting through every little bit that I wanted to, before we get to the after credit scenes. But the after credit scenes, why don't we just talk about them? One is Superman and Flash racing, which is fun. It reminds me of a lot of those cheesy older comic book scenarios and everything. But I still thought it was fun. We don't see who wins, but I gotta believe if Superman is powerful enough to go through the Speed Force, that he might be able to just narrowly beat the Flash, perhaps, especially with as inexperienced as the Flash still is. But who knows? It was still kind of fun. Definitely felt like a Whedon kind of thing, but it was one of those I could still accept. On the other after credit scene, we see the first appearance of Joe Magnolio's Deathstroke. As he meets with Lex Luthor on a boat. We see that Lex Luthor is missing, and apparently there is a scene cut, that Zack Snyder had done, where we actually see Deathstroke breaking Luthor out of prison, which I think would have been cool to see again. Why would they cut something like that? I don't know. I just don't understand why they would have cut that dark side stuff I talked about earlier, Steppenwolf. Why would they not allow that to expand the threat of future films, to see and feel that menace of Darkseid head on? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. And apparently there's even an idea originally to have another after credit scene where we see Kilowog, meeting, Bruce outside his house on the lake. We have seen the green light and everything. It would have been really cool, but they, again, didn't include it for some reason. Oh, God. But despite all my my complaints about not being Zack Snyder's original work, I definitely think it was a good time. The characters still felt like the characters, despite sort of the change in style, I guess. There were some fun action sequences, and in between this and Thor Ragnarok, you can enjoy them both. It is possible. But just because I like characters like Batman so much, especially, Batman's my all-time favorite character. Just because I care so much about Batman as a character himself, it automatically sort of goes over something like Thor Ragnarok. So I would have to put Justice League a notch or two above Thor Ragnarok. But again, it's unfortunate that Justice League could have been great with Zack Snyder's, original idea for it and everything. But still very good, very enjoyable. And if I had to rate Justice League, I would rate it about B or B+. And I definitely don't think it deserves the trashing it's getting by certain people. I don't see it as a bad movie whatsoever. But people seem pretty stuck on being as negative about the DC work as they can, which is again unfortunate. So learn what you guys thought about Justice League. Something else I should probably mention. I'm not sure if it was going to be any different in Snyder's original version or not, but the way Superman was brought back, I felt not as much satisfaction or as much of a rush as I was hoping for. Like, I was envisioning it, being like this grand epic scene of his return, hearing like the Hans Zimmer Man of Steel music, which I love, blaring, and having like a slow build up of the camera panning up to him as he goes after Steppenwolf. I think could have been epic as hell, but they just sort of revive him, and he's there, he's running around again doing whatever. Which was good that we got to spend more time with him, which I didn't expect to have as much screen time with Superman as we did. But still, I feel like his return could have been more effective than the way they did it. But it was great to see Henry Cavill and everything. And I'm really excited, for the future of it. I think it still has a lot of potential, and I feel like it's still really, really good. In the end, despite all my issues with the way it could have been. So follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe. I'm sure there's things about the movie I didn't talk about, so feel free to. Catch you guys next time. Peace.